Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's ready to have a great Friday. We've got a lot of football going on this weekend. I'm not sure we actually watched football last night. I'm not sure what that was last night. All I can say is that was some ugly ass football. That's not what Amazon had planned to have for Thursday Night Football. It was just bad. It was literally unwatchable, and we'll talk about reasons I think that's happened. But the NFL and the NFL Players Association have a lot to take responsibility for the product that's on the field, and I'll get to that later on. But right now, I'm old enough to remember what people were saying about the Dallas Cowboys between, the Cowboys, and I'm guilty too. I'm guilty too, because it felt like the Cowboys were undermining Mike McCarthy. From the time Jerry Jones literally undercut him and talked about Mike McCarthy knows that he's not going to be the coach forever, and the rumors of Sean Payton, you looked at the Cowboys getting rid of, really good players, and it's still early. Things can change. That's the thing about the NFL. Things change quickly. NFL, not for long. But right now, well, I tell you what, let's go back to just a month ago. After the Seattle Seahawks preseason game, the Cowboys had, 13 penalties or something like that, and they were talking about how bad was it Seattle or was it the Broncos? It was just bad. They were talking about, here it is. They got still penalties like crazy. They should have been addressing this, Mike McCarthy and that. And let's listen to what they were saying about Mike McCarthy back then.
Realities of the NFL, Shefty, is that in previous times, maybe we would talk about coaches and job security much closer to the end of the season. It's a different NFL, and I think that no coach enters a season under more pressure than Mike McCarthy. There's already been talk about Sean Payton, who conveniently happens to have roots in Dallas, is now retired from the NFL, although he has said he will go back to coaching at some point, he expects. How much job security does Mike McCarthy have, or maybe not have?
Did you notice how Phil framed that whole thing? He has Sean Payton on the sideline. He has him down. And then he asked me about his job security when he put it all out there. Little baby face went total assassin right there.
I'm just reading the scripts. Just reading the scripts. Just reading them.
Boy, he set you up. He set you up, Chef.
Let's put it out. Let's make sense of this, right? Let's basic facts. You said coaches are some of the most scrutinized jobs in the league. No coach is more scrutinized than the Dallas Cowboys head coaching job. Sean Payton, to your point, is out there. Whether Mike McCarthy likes it or not, every time there's a setback with the franchise, every time something goes wrong, every time a game is lost, every time the fans are upset, everybody's going to be calling for Sean Payton. That's a reality of the upcoming season, whether he likes it. It's just a part of his job. The irony is that they got hired the same year. Mike McCarthy to Green Bay, Sean Payton to New Orleans were part of the same rookie coaching class, got their head coaching jobs in the same class, and now the shadow of Sean Payton, for better or worse, hangs over the job that Mike McCarthy does in Dallas. It's just the way it is.
It sort of reminds me of when a team has a young quarterback on the roster that fans want to see, but the veteran still has a starting job, and the only way for the veteran to keep that job is to just keep winning. That's the only way to quiet the chatter about something like Sean Payton.
And when Babyface is going after the head coach while asking a question, you know that he's got real issues this upcoming season.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for watching.
That's where we were. But Mike McCarthy kind of answered this yesterday.
I'm no punk bitch. I ain't no punk bitch neither. I'm no punk bitch. Knock that head off.
Mike McCarthy, who is, I can't believe, is actually getting love from Jerry Jones. Now Mike McCarthy, he is not a punk bitch no more. You feel right now that Mike McCarthy, he actually kind of clamped back on Jerry Jones. Remember when Jerry came out, I'd love to have me a quarterback controversy here, everything else. And it was Mike McCarthy who went on and said, Dak is our quarterback. Dak is our quarterback. And that's that. And then you kind of saw, Jerry Jones kind of back down a little bit. I'm just wondering if that was the moment that things changed in the Cowboys' mind of, we have a lapdog coach that will do what we want him to do. And that was the moment that he actually earned respect from them. That Mike McCarthy, instead of going off quietly into the night, has interjected himself in the play calling, has interjected himself as, I'm the leader of the team. We all still see Jerry Jones, not as much Stephen Jones now. We still see Jerry, and Jerry's always going to have Jerry speak. Jerry's always going to be, wanting some glory holes and things and wanting the team to win. But I feel like from that point that I was surprised that Mike McCarthy said something different. Because, see, Jason Garrett always kind of, he always had the same look, that same grin, win, lose, or draw, and would never kind of go against what the Jones family said. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, for example, you end up doing, yes, dear, yes, honey, okay, and that's where you get treated like, you're a punk bitch. But sometimes you've got to, get your cojones going, and you have to kind of say, no, this is what we're doing. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? Whoa. Ooh, ooh, don't do that shit too often. You guys know what I'm talking about. You pick and choose. No, this is what we gonna do. Ooh, you got to be careful that you don't overdo that. But then you earn a bit of respect, because for Jerry Jones to literally say, it still blows my mind. I wasn't home yesterday and the day before, so the conversation that I'm about to show you guys got away from me, and I almost don't believe it. But for Jerry Jones to say, it would be an injustice not to give him the kind of credit as a head coach for getting these things right and getting it to this point. I don't know how you could say enough about how he handled this team initially starting out. It's like a boxer walking out, just getting hit, and the best shot you absolutely could right across the chin, first steps out. And how do you get that all back together? Give him his credit. He has managed to right the ship steady and progressively get this team in shape to play without Dak. And I will say, I think he is 8-7, or is it 9-7 without Dak? And I know the Dak haters will say, well, he just needs to play without Dak. Well, he's got a better record with Dak than he does without. But be that as it may, what's crazy is what I heard from Mike Greenberg. Now, I'm not going to say Mike Greenberg is the be-all, end-all, because he was the same guy that said Ryan Fitzpatrick on the Washington Commanders was going to make, like the 49ers, and that kind of blew up in their face. But listen to this, and to me, this is kind of crazy. When everybody was talking about Sean Payton or Dan Quinn, right now, it's Mike McCarthy's game.
You saw Russell Wilson rush himself back with his thumb, same injury, and he talked about how it affected him. You don't want to be the reason to take the momentum from your team. So if you are Dak Prescott, again, you trust in who you are as a quarterback. He knows he's the best quarterback on the Cowboys roster, but when you're healthy, you're the best. And right now, Cooper Rush is maintaining the ability to win games. And by the way, He's playing really well in the latter part of games. When he has to make a couple plays, he's making them, but he's not being asked to make that many. I respect what he's doing, but if you're Dak Prescott, you don't want to come squash what's already going for your football team, so just get that thing healthy.
I got to call a timeout. Okay?
Here
I have
comes.
one issue, and I have a bone to pick with everybody. I know. So yesterday I sat here and I listened to how Dan Quinn is responsible for all of the success. And now I'm listening to how Kellen Moore and Stephen Jones are responsible for all the success of the Cowboys. And if they were 0-4 right now, we'd be firing Mike McCarthy. Why does Mike McCarthy get no credit when they win, and we'd be firing him if they lost? I'm going to say this right now. They've won 3 straight games with a backup quarterback. Mike McCarthy is the coach of the year this minute in the NFL. You show me a king. I mean,
I was with you, and then you went too far. You were like, we were going, then you jumped off a cliff.
Your boy Greeny's high. That's where he jumped into.
Show me a team that has overcome more adversity than losing your starting quarterback week 1 and being sitting there 3-1.
I told you last year that the greatest thing that happened to the Cowboys in the offseason is that Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore stayed in the building. And that has proved true because the people installing that offense and running that defense, by the way, the best defense in the NFL, or turning the ball over, doing all the things to help win, is doing it.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on something. If they lose, it's all McCarthy's fault. And if they win, he gets none of the credit.
I criticized Kellen Moore last year.
I'm with you. Mike McCarthy deserves some credit. The tough part about giving him credit is some people go too far and say Coach of the Year. And also, I don't know exactly what to give him credit for. Because we have to acknowledge that the offense and defense, so like steadying the ship is a good thing. It feels very much like the Jimmy Garoppolo conversation where it's like, he out there when they winning, but we also do not want to like say Jimmy Garoppolo for MVP.
Dan, make some sense here.
Yeah, I don't get me started on Garoppolo, but I was just with Kellerman in the radio. It's way too much. Look. Yes, McCarthy's job is to sort of be the overseer, establish the culture, maintain order when things are falling apart. They've done it. So, yes, credit to Mike McCarthy. Coach of the Year? No, I don't think he's Coach of the Year in his own division. I'm not sure he's top 2 Coach of the Year in his own division right now through 4 games. But I think the key thing to understand about the Cowboys is they've built a good roster, right? They're winning without their starting quarterback. They're winning without their starting left tackle, right? I mean, they're banged up all over the place, but they have the depth to fill in. Cooper Rush is of their program. He's been around there. He's doing exactly what they need him to do. And this is an organizational accomplishment so far, and McCarthy is part of that.
Every person that I have on this show, which is like every person at ESPN, told me they were dead. They were done when Dak went down.
I did say that.
And here they are, and they are very much alive.
Yeah, that's big difference. Big difference from where we were just a month ago, because people were calling for Mike McCarthy to be fired in preseason, and certainly after the Tampa Bay game. But then again, it's the NFL. You know, if the Cowboys go on a 2 or 3 game losing streak, it'll all be back to Sean Payton. And that's it's a tough business to be in. But right now, the Cowboys, they touched on a point that is very, very important here, that the Cowboys have great depth. And that depth comes from not going out. And, you know, as much as we've killed Catboy, instead of putting all your eggs in one basket and saying we're going to spend $15 million on, you know, an edge rusher, they ended up getting an Anthony Barr. They ended up getting a Turpin. They ended up getting a Jason Peters. They end up going out and getting a Jaron Kearse. They end up getting out a Donovan Wilson. Now, a lot of times what's happened to us in the past is instead of getting a Donovan Wilson who's playing lights out, or, you know, a Jaron Kearse, we'd end up getting the Ty Nsekes, guys that couldn't bust a grape. But they've been good at getting guys to play roles and to be able to fit in there. And that's the difference for the Cowboys right now is we've had great players before, but we haven't had great depth before. We'd lose a Tyron Smith and the offense would be completely discombobulated. We'd lose a Sean Lee and we'd start giving up 100 more yards on the ground. We'd lose a DeMarcus Lawrence and now we got no pass rush. But we have guys to jump into the breach, and credit that to the front office, but also to credit Mike McCarthy for putting people in the positions to actually succeed and to be successful. We have killed the Cowboys. We have killed the coaching staff. We have killed Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. We have killed everybody on there. We've killed Joe Phoeben. But right now, maybe we got to walk back a little bit and look at it, because we got Tyler Smith, who was a penalty machine in college, stepping in week 1 for Tyron Smith. And the offensive line isn't lacking. Just saying. Biotish is at least an average center right now. And the Cowboys have only given up 2 sacks. You got to look at that and say, maybe Joe Phoeben isn't as bad as we thought. And Mike McCarthy is the one kind of said, I want to stick with him. So credit where credit's due. I'm not ready to say he's coach of the year, but I tell you what, if they find a way to beat the Rams and start out 4-1, you need to start looking at that and saying, yeah, when you looked at the teams that they faced, yeah, definitely. Anyway, I hope you guys have, but actually, hold on, before I get out of here. Okay. It just hit me on one of the things that they said. They said, I'm not sure Mike McCarthy is the second best coach in his division. Now, I'll give you the Eagles starting out 4-0. I'll give their coach, credit there. 4-0, because you're 4-0, you're the only undefeated team. But are we saying, I know we're not talking about Ron Rivera being better than Mike McCarthy, because that team they're calling for his head. But are we saying that the Giants coach deserves more credit, even though the Cowboys beat them? Is that literally where we are with this? Okay. I was just checking. All right, good people. Hope you have a great day. I got work to do in the workshop and some errands to run, and we got to get rid of all these damn acorns, that are out here in the man cave and start getting ready for the weekend, because the weekend's partying is going to start early at 9:30 a.m. And I will see you guys later.
Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being